create a new document, click on page size and go down to custom, and you want to add in a custom page size here. Call it book pages. The width is going to be 135 millimeters. The height is going to be 217 millimeters, and you can click OK, and that will set it to book pages there. Don't worry if it converts to this width with the P's in it, the Pika format. We won't worry about that. Now we are going to have two columns, and we will change the gutter here to 8 millimeters. So change the gutter to 8 millimeters. Your margins are going to be 20 millimeters all around, except then you're going to unlock this and change the bottom one to 25 millimeters. All that mine's doing when it goes back to this 4p 8.693 blah blah blah, all it's doing is converting millimeters into this other format that mine's set at. At the top here, make sure that facing pages is ticked, and we want to have 3 pages for this one. Bleed is going to be 3 millimeters all around. 3 millimeters all around. And I'll click OK. So what I should get is a document that looks very much like this here, with my 2 columns down the middle. And I'm going to drag one of the rulers across here to that column and to that column there, just so that I get, and a third one as well, directly in the center, like that there. So I've got this centered column here. Now, using the type tool, I'm going to create a text box from this corner here to about here. And I'm going to type chapter 7 in there. When I've done that, I'm going to go to the character panel, change this to Century Gothic like our title. Turn the font size up. Doesn't want to let me there, so I'll have to play around with it here. It's a bit odd that it doesn't want to let me do it there, but it will let me at the top here until I get to the right size. Okay, chapter 7. Right click on that. Fit frame to content. And I'm going to draw a very subtle line underneath it, so I can zoom in, Control plus, zoom in and draw a very subtle line underneath there. I'm going to make that stroke about 0.25 points, and that's it. So I hit W, I get that there. Now on the right hand side, what I'm going to do is create a text box that takes up about half of the page there, a bit over half. Now what I want you to notice, I'm going to zoom out here. The reason that facing pages was ticked was because I now have a left and a right page down here, which I can use to lay things out on. I could cross over it if it was a children's picture book. It might have pictures that cross over the center of it. We're not going to this time, we're going to work with columns. But in here I'm going to grab some text. Now the text that I'm going to grab is this here, from Alice in Wonderland. And I'm just going to copy this text back into here. Now using this text here, I'm going to highlight this T. Actually, I'll highlight the whole thing and change the character style to Garamond. And I might make it, no, I probably don't want it to be bold, just regular. And then with each letter, I'm going to make it pretty big. In fact, I'm going to make it a lot bigger than that. Might just have to type it in. 200, too big. 150. Okay, that's getting closer. I'm going to turn that all the way up. Probably looking at let's have a look at how it's done on here. Scroll down a little bit. Yep, so that's it there. What font size have they used? Garamond regular. And I'll grab this here. Just grab that T. We're going to change the whole section to justified, by the way. Justified last line left, which is that one there. Go back in, select that T, and I should be able to boost this up a bit more. without it actually going all the way out of the page. I might have to go here and hit a line break there, so I can then turn that up. Now for each of these other lines here, I'm going to have to play around with the settings, because essentially what I want is something that looks like this. Okay, so I'm going to have to play around with those words and get something creative on each of those lines. Unfortunately, except for that first one there was a table set, I don't want to make any more split words. So looking at this here, I should be able to do it with this and turn that up like that there, and then table set, bump it up to 30 first and then boost it up. And with each of these, I'll grab them and turn the line spacing down a little bit. Play with that line spacing until it comes up. Now this looks like it is actually bold, so I might grab that bold, set out under, I'll turn that one up. Tree in front, and it's going to kind of push the text down. Now as I go through, you'll see the line spacing has got a bit funny there, so I'm going to grab those there, bring the line spacing to 27, and what I might just do now is push that down so we get rid of the rest of that text. Okay, so I'll turn that all on bold. Probably have to turn that, except the first letter, bold. And I might have to just adjust the font size of this one. Okay, so mine doesn't look quite as good as the book there. I could play around with the setting here. Let's get rid of this maybe, the word in. And then turn a tree up quite high. Like that. And that's looking a bit better. Okay, so I've got a cover there. On the inside page here, what we're going to make it look like is this here. Okay, with the T set. So we'll actually work with the T set on the right. Do I have an image? I don't think I have the image of the T set, so I'll find one of those and pop it into the Dropbox. The bit on the left shouldn't be too hard. Okay, very simply what I'm going to do is create a text box that takes up that whole page. I'll just undo that actually. I'll grab the plus button here, the select tool, little plus button. Click that, bring it down to here, drag from here to here, and turn that into 2 columns. And I'll turn the margins up on there until they match the actual column margins that I've got. Once I'm done with this, I will go back and grab some more of that text here. Doesn't really matter which text I grab, so I'll just grab it from here. Grab a whole lot of it, go back into InDesign, paste it in, and what I want to do with this here is go to paragraph and change the paragraph settings. It doesn't look like it will let me. I should be able to select the whole thing, set the space after the paragraphs to something a bit larger, and if there's any extra bits like this here, I want to delete them. Okay, because I only want the paragraph spacing that I've put in there. Okay, so there's that there. If this was the very first bit, I might have a drop cap on it, but I don't need to in this case. That page works fine. This page here, however, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a shape for the text to go into. And this can get a little bit tricky. If you see here, the shape that it wants me to draw looks like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get that shape as a reference and bring it over to the right hand side here, just so I can see it. And on the left I'll get Indesign and plug that in over here. And now to draw this shape I'm going to need to use the pen tool, which is this one here. Except I want to make sure it's on pen tool, not add anchor point. So pen tool. You can hold it down to change. And I'm going to start with one of the points. So I'll start with this point down the bottom here. This one down here. I'm going to click and it creates a point. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky, because what I need to do is think about where the next point is going to be, because what I can do is I can actually drag these as curves. Now mine's not going to be exact. You see, as I move this, I'm holding my mouse button down, by the way, I can make these curves. So I'm going to do that there. And then I'm going to click up here, so it's going to curve around like that. And then I'm going to click right up here at this final point. It'll make that final curve. Then I'm going to come all the way over here. I can move this and reshape it in a minute and make that curve there. Might actually do it about here. And so I make that curve there. And then curve into there. Curve down to here. And then that final point. I'll just click down here and then click back to there. Okay, so I've kind of got a very similar shape. It's not the same shape, it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty close to it. It's actually looks a really bit weird down here. So what I can do is I can click on this shape. I should be able to grab with the direct selection tool those anchor points and move them and reshape them a little bit. So that one's looking a bit strange, but if I reshape it and click this one here and reshape that and grab this handle here and bring it up a bit, I can probably bring this one out a little bit so it's not quite as wonky in there. Get this one, shape it in a bit more, this one here. This one here probably needs to be deleted, so I can click on it and click the delete anchor point, which should get rid of that, and it kind of smooths it all out. There's a lot, I mean, I could take more time with this, and I'm not too worried about it at the moment. I'm going to scale it down a little bit, and I'm going to then move it so that it takes up just that margin. I might resize it a little bit here and there. I'm going to rotate it and just bring it up to there. Now what I'm going to do here is get this plus button, click on it, and click inside this. You'll see that if you look at the cursor, it's kind of got a square bit around the top left part of it. If I move in there, it's round, meaning it's going to put it inside that shape. And so it goes inside the shape, and in this case at an angle. Now I'm going to want to go in here and delete those extra paragraphs that were in there so that it doesn't look funny. But now I've got text inside a shape. When I hit W to preview it, it looks pretty ugly because it's got a stroke on the shape, so I want to turn that stroke off and go none, and then I get that outline there. Now when I go down to here, you'll see this one's not rotated, and so what I will do is just rotate it back to 0 and hit W, and I've got something very similar. Now you will want to add a picture of a teapot down here, and I will drop a teapot. If I just go teapot, images, teapot cartoon, and if you can find one that doesn't have this Shutterstock or Clipper or any kind of stamp on it, then just place that in. Now to do that, you're going to need to save it. So I might look up Alice in Wonderland teapot. Cartoon. I want something with white on the outside of it. I'll just go back and use the clip art that I found earlier. Okay, this one here will be fine. View image, right click, save image as. I'll just save it to my data folder. Click save. File. Place. Computer. Data. Teapot. Click open. It'll ask me where to put it. If it puts it into a frame, you just want to click Control Z and then ask where to put it. Place it in here somewhere and position it. Oops. Position it so that it's kind of coming out of that pot area there. Now the last page I'm going to do in a separate video, so I'll just save this one here, save it as book pages, and we'll finish it up in the last video.